8 years. That's how long I've loved Leighton Reed. She still refuses to acknowledge me as her fiancé, just to please her little boy toy. She told the press we were just ordinary friends. Later, I told her seriously, don't hide, it doesn't look like what ordinary friends do. With her eyes rimmed with red and her voice trembling. She said, I don't want to be just friends with you. We used to be so in love. Please, just forgive me. I was still interacting with fans when the notification came that my red carpet walk had been cancelled. My fingers froze over the screen. I looked at my manager. Joe. In disbelief. Why? She said, rubbing my wrist comfortingly. He's got connections. Word is, he's Leighton Reed's new boy toy. She said. My fingers curled instinctively in a tense grip. Leighton is my fiancé. I've loved her for 8 whole years. Even her notoriously difficult mother, has accepted me. Yet I'm still a nobody to her. Even Joe doesn't know the truth. Seeing Leighton walk in arm with Julian Thorne, I felt a suffocating sense of impending death. I knew she had a childhood friend. He grew up in her inner circle and moved abroad in high school, but people still mentioned him at dinners. I messaged her friend and sent the photo. Is this the guy you mentioned? The reply was hesitant. Typing flashed at the top for 5 full minutes. Yeah. That's him. I was just talking earlier. Didn't mean anything. Maybe Leighton thought you were tired and didn't want to bother you. Don't overthink it. Want me to ask her for you? I pursed my lips. Thanks. No need. I just asked her. It's fine. After the brief chat, I looked at the two of them in the front row. If Leighton just turned around, she'd see me, her dejected fiancé. The man she bumped off the red carpet with a single word. But she didn't look back once. On stage, the host smiled. Best Supporting Actor of the Year. Nominations rolled across the screen. Julian Thorne, myself, and 2 others. I gripped my hands nervously. Joe leaned in. Forget it. It's rigged for Julian. This award is a lost cause. My heart sank. The moment she finished, Julian Thorne's name filled the big screen. Even the seasoned hosts couldn't hide their expressions for a split second. Julian looked around in feigned surprise until the woman beside him whispered something. Judging by her lips, just, why aren't you going up yet? And didn't you want this award? She had asked me that many times. Don't you want the award? I'd tell her I'd work hard for it. Leighton would always smile. Good, I'll be waiting. Give it your all. She didn't wait. As Julian stood up, the camera caught her face. Leighton was clapping. Perfectly poised. The room went quiet. She was protecting him. I didn't even know what expression to make. My momentary lapse of composure was already trending. Julian Thorne Best Supporting Actor. Sean Sterling's expression. I clicked the live feed. It was a mess. His fans are hilarious. Bragging before the announcement. Calling it watered down after. Is your master too good for a trophy? Truly pathetic. Lied about the red carpet. Then didn't show. Now he's got that death mask on while someone else wins. I guess trying that hard and failing warrants a little pout. Leave my man alone. He didn't do anything to you. We all know how Julian got that award. Everyone can see Sean's acting. Don't make me laugh. Sure. Our Julian is just that good. Even the great Reed makes him soup and follows him to sets. Unlike your guy, who isn't fit to shine Julian's shoes. Julian deserves this. He's fast-tracking into the elite. Sean won't reach his height in this lifetime. I stared at the comments until my eyes burned. Something inside me was crumbling. Piece by piece, I searched for videos of Leighton and Julian. September 23rd. Julian filming? Leighton there the whole time. September 23rd. I sent her 5 messages. She never replied. Then a casual, I was there yesterday. August 17th. Leighton carrying a thermos of soup for Julian. I had practiced for 2 months. Burning my hands countless times. Tasting it again and again. I made her that soup with so much love. Heart in my throat. She said it was delicious. I was happy all day. Turns out she just handed it to Julian. She could have told me. I wouldn't have wasted all that excitement. July 25th. They were spotted traveling together. Leighton gave me a watch. I gripped my wrist. The cold metal bit into my palm. The pain helped me suppress the bitterness. Joe frowned. Smile. Don't let it show. It's just one award. Your life is long. There will be other chances. I forced a smile through blurred eyes. She was startled by the tears shimmering in my eyes and quickly covered them with her hand. It's okay. She whispered. You're young. Life doesn't end today. Joe had me sent home, staring out the car window at the passing lights. I couldn't help but look back on these years. I've had a crush on Leighton for years. But she never knew. To her, we first met in college. Oh, you went to Lincoln Heights Academy too. Yeah. For those 2 short sentences, I burned the midnight oil for 3 years, over 1,000 days and nights, just to be one of her many underclassmen. I manufactured so many coincidences, just to barely become her friend. After graduation, She took over the family business, against all advice. I entered the industry. We met again over drinks. She was the investor. I was the third lead. Long time no see. Why did you become an actor? Because I love it. At the rap party? I found Leighton smoking alone behind a door. On the other side, people were cheering. She was solitary. Are you unhappy? Her other hand rested on the railing. She looked lazy, tilting her head to look at me. She crushed out her cigarette. She asked me, Sean, do you like me? Love is like a cough. You can't hide it. I went silent instantly. In the eerie silence, her gaze was hot. Scanning my face and body, she scoffed. Honestly, you're not my type. That name, that dynamic, pulled me right back to my bitter adolescence. A crush in an empty valley. Never an echo. The person I chased for my entire youth was standing right in front of me. In a voice both gentle and cruel, she said, there's no future for us. Oh, I said, blinking rapidly to hide the sting. When I got home, Leighton wasn't there. I stood in the living room with the lights on. My gaze swept over every inch of the space. This was just one of her many properties, yet I stubbornly called it home. I used to love sitting on that sofa, waiting for Leighton, so I could greet her the second she walked in, but she said, I was clingy. The door opened. Leighton bent down to grab slippers, frowning. Her eyes fell on my feet. Barefoot on the floor again? Where have you been? I didn't rush to hug her like usual, murmuring how much I missed her. Leighton squinted, seemingly annoyed. She walked over and pulled me into a hug. The floor is cold. She looked up at me and smiled. Upset? I didn't mean to ignore your messages. I was busy today. I pulled out of her embrace and let out a self-deprecating laugh. She didn't even know we were at the same event. She didn't know I was the one Julian replaced. Leighton looked at me, confused. Her voice was flat. I've been spoiling you too much lately. She rubbed her temples, looking exhausted. Looking at her, I felt a dull ache in my heart. When a door isn't meant to open for you, it's rude to keep knocking. Leighton, a name I've called 1,000 times. From today on, we're done. Let's call off the engagement. You're free. She froze. Her gaze turned ice cold. She didn't even realize how ugly her expression had become. Word by word, almost through gritted teeth. What did you say? I rarely get angry. Intense emotions cloud my judgment. But in this moment, a spark of rage flickered. I said you're free. Don't you understand? I thought our relationship was decent. No matter how much I liked her, I was never a stalker. Before we dated, our most frequent contact was in college. I was careful even with the coincidences I staged, never wanting to annoy her. So, I defined this romance as, I want it, I work for it. I got it. It shouldn't have ended in resentment. Leighton stayed silent. Her gaze lingered on my face for a long time. Finally, she laughed. Sean, you're not being rational today. When you've cooled down, we'll talk. She grabbed her coat from the chair. I stood there in silence as her footsteps faded. After she left for Julian, the silence was deafening. The night felt like it was flowing around me. A dead quiet that felt like a cage. I felt a sudden surge of nausea. That same old trick. Whenever I hit my limit and my emotions were about to boil over, she'd just toss out a calm down and walk away. She got to stay above it all. I used to be obsessed with that about her. How she handled everything with such ease. Always the dignified heiress. Like there was nothing she couldn't handle. No matter who was at the table, she always played by her own rules. At the end of the day, all these years, I was nothing to her. Maybe I wasn't even qualified to sit at the same table. I took a moment. I forced myself to calm down. I went through the motions of washing up. But sleep wouldn't come. I felt like a dried-out sponge. I had no capacity for thought left. Around 4 a.m., my phone rang. I scrambled for it, desperate for proof of something. Joe's name was on the screen. Not Leighton. I tried to act normal, keeping my voice loud to hide the depression. It's late. What's up? You and Leighton were caught on camera at several locations on the same day. What a coincidence. We'd had rumors before, but Joe never asked. She'd just clear it up and issue a denial. My heart skipped a beat. Just have the team clear it up. Why call me? The background was noisy. She was clearly working overtime. It's getting out of hand. Julian's team is spinning the narrative. The company account and your personal page are being swarmed. Go talk to your fans. I agreed. And she hung up to deal with the fire. I logged onto the social media app. The constant notifications made my phone lag for several seconds. My latest post had turned from fan praise into a toxic cesspool of insults. Trying to be a homewrecker? You're pathetic. Too bad CO Reed doesn't want you. Look how good she is to Julian. Are you dying of jealousy? If you acted this well on screen, maybe you'd have an award. Nobody wants your leftovers. You're breaking Julian's heart. Just die already. I was dazed. I typed Julian Thorne into the search bar. Julian is so upset. He watched your interviews before coming back and wanted to learn from you. He never expected such low character. But why does it have to be like this? How can people be so cruel? I couldn't understand. Upset all night. If she hadn't been there, I don't know what I would have done. I cherish what we have. I really do. Julian Thorne's post read. He had attached a photo of a cute, decorated cake and 2 cups of boba. It was clearly a gift from a woman. And if you zoomed in, you could see a woman's hand, looking as if she had been caught in the frame by accident. Netizens quickly identified the bracelet on that hand as one Leighton Reed had been wearing lately. Combined with the paparazzi shots of me appearing at the same places as her, I was being branded as a malicious stalker. Everything lined up with Julian's vague social media posts, and angry fans and righteous bystanders swarmed my profile to vent their rage. The more they cursed me, the more sincere their blessings for Julian and Leighton became. Even though I was the actual fiancé, I had never received a single genuine blessing. It made sense, the moment she left our home. She couldn't wait to see Julian. She never accompanied me to formal events. Yet she was constantly seen in public with him. To get him that award, she didn't hesitate to use the backhanded methods she usually despised. By all appearances, Julian looked more like her lover than I ever did. I forced a bitter smile, feeling the ache in my chest, and turned off my phone after posting a brief message to reassure my remaining fans. Some people believed me, some didn't, and everyone was waiting for Leighton's response. I knew deep down she wouldn't say a word, let alone clear my name. But I still desperately hoped she would stand up for me. Just this once. I felt like I was walking a tightrope, thrust onto the stage without any preparation. I knew I was going to fall. I just hoped to delay the inevitable for a little longer. Loving someone one-sidedly is its own kind of tightrope walk. And having come this far, I wasn't ready to give up yet. Counted the hours, eyes wide open until dawn, before packing my things and getting into the van to bury myself in work. Leighton remained silent. And the online harassment continued for days. No one believed me when I said I was innocent. They even wrote a list of 18 demands for me to answer. How could I respond? Should I tell them that the woman I shared a bed with didn't even recognize me? If I didn't reach out to her? She never contacted me. Then, Eleanor Reed called me. She told me not to believe the gossip online. She insisted that no matter how wild Leighton acted, she would never cheat. And she promised to make Leighton apologize to me. I looked down and told her I wasn't doing well. There was a silence on the other end before she spoke again. She told me that if I were her son, she wouldn't want me to be with Leighton. She admitted she hadn't liked me at first, but she had seen how well I treated her daughter over the years. But since Leighton was her daughter, she still hoped as a mother that we could make it work. I leaned against a door on set, watching the crew scramble around before my scene. The female lead, dressed in a school uniform, laughed and nudged the male lead. He pretended to be annoyed, but his eyes were full of warmth. Leighton and I never had memories like that. I didn't answer Eleanor, and when she called my name again, I looked away. Maybe it's just not meant to be. I said, I used to think if I just proved how much I loved her, she would eventually love me back. But it doesn't work that way. She probably only got engaged to me because her mother liked me. It could have been anyone. But I fooled myself into thinking I was special to her. It took a single moment to fall for her, but I spent 8 years chasing her. By the end, I couldn't tell if I still loved her or if I was just too stubborn to let go. In our unequal relationship, she had never actually crossed the line with another man, so I kept hoping for a breakthrough. But she has shattered my pathetic persistence. I can't keep doing this, or Sean Sterling won't be Sean Sterling anymore. I saw Leighton again a week later on a talk show she attended with Julian and me. I could tell she was annoyed, barely maintaining a polite facade that the audience couldn't see through. As I sat down, she glanced at me with the cold eyes of a stranger. I gripped my wrist, feeling the cold bite of the metal watch. Leighton was generous with gifts, but this watch was the only one she gave me for our anniversary. I had been so happy then, but now it felt pathetic. I thought she had remembered the date and was returning my love, but it was just a coincidence. Julian had wanted to go shopping that day, and she had probably just happened to think of me and bought it on a whim while I was busy romanticizing it. Once I've completely moved on, I'll take off this watch and forget that date. It won't be long now. The show didn't give me much screen time, so I just had to smile and say a few lines. Julian, who was chatting with the host, suddenly changed the subject to me, saying he felt bad that I was getting criticized because of him. He apologized for not being clear that day. I opened my mouth but couldn't bring myself to say, "It's okay." And the atmosphere turned awkward until the host stepped in. The host laughed and suggested Leighton clarify her relationship with me to clear the air. She was essentially handing the power to the most influential person in the room. I gripped my hands tighter as Leighton looked at me. A slight smirk touched her lips, but her eyes remained cold, the exact expression she wore before doing something cruel. She stared at me and said in an amused tone, "Sean and I were classmates. Now, we're barely casual friends." Barely casual friends, even though I was prepared. The crushing weight of disappointment still hit me. I felt like I had finally fallen off that tightrope. I kept a polite smile for the camera, though it felt like a mask. I fumbled with the clasp of the watch. But my mind was so chaotic that I couldn't get it open. My fingertips were turning red from the effort. The female guest sitting next to me noticed and looked at me with pity, asking if I needed help. I hesitated but eventually held out my hand, ignoring the way Leighton's face suddenly darkened. After the taping, I posted a status on social media. I always post on Thursdays. It's a promise I made to my fans that I've never broken. I waited a few minutes and refreshed the comments. Besides my fans, there were plenty of harsh voices. "That couple was nice enough to give you a pass. Stop making things weird." One said, "Leighton and Julian are perfect together. You don't even compare," said another. "Did you see how pissed Reed looked when she saw you?" Others told me to stop being annoying and just focus on acting. The comment section was a chaotic mess of memes and insults, people telling me to get lost or stay out of the couple's business. It was total madness. "Stop trying to break them up," someone begged. I ignored them and gently stroked the watch I had finally managed to take off. I used to think this watch was beautiful because I was in love. I used to think it was the most amazing thing, but it just looks ordinary, completely average. Maybe the Leighton I loved was just a version of her I created through a romantic filter. Without that filter, she's actually quite uninteresting. I thought about throwing it in the trash, but I changed my mind. I listed it on a secondhand site instead, letting it serve one last purpose. My phone chimed with a message from Leighton. "Our first contact in days. If you don't come back now, don't ever come back," she wrote. I had been moved out for a long time, and this was the only message she had sent. I told her I was coming over. She didn't reply, so I headed back to her place. She was sitting on the sofa, staring at me with a blank expression. "You've certainly grown some nerve, Sean Sterling. Acting out like this, are you waiting for me to coax you back?" she asked with an impatient scoff. There was a malicious mocking in her smile as she reminded me that she doesn't do apologies. I realized with absolute clarity that she never loved me, not even once. A sudden wave of sadness hit me. I believed in myself, but for her, I had compromised over and over again. I blamed myself for not being good enough. But the truth is simple, she just doesn't love me. And not being good enough was just an excuse. I told her I wasn't acting out. I was leaving for Real. I wasn't just throwing a tantrum. Leighton cracked her knuckles. It was her tell for when she was losing her patience. "Sean, stop this. I won't forgive you a second time," she warned. "There won't be a second time," she repeated. Her voice was quiet, her light-colored eyes looking cold and indifferent under the lamp. We had broken up once before, last year. It was over something so small I couldn't even remember what the fight was about. She didn't understand why I was upset and didn't try very hard to fix it. She told me never to show my face again. And the moment I left her sight, I couldn't stop crying. I didn't work for a month. Just sat in a daze. I didn't want to see anyone. I kept the curtains drawn all day. I just stare out the window. My mind a complete fog. I was a mess until Eleanor made Leighton come and apologize to me. Eleanor told me Leighton had seemed distracted at home and came as soon as she was told to. She told us not to hold grudges, saying it wasn't easy to stay together. To her, it was just a casual remark. But I knew exactly how much effort I had put into this relationship. Loving someone truly happens in an instant. Leighton was my senior at Lincoln Heights Academy. I had heard the legends about her from the day I started. A math prodigy, she had secured a spot at a top-tier university early on. I was in the audience the day she gave a speech at our school. Seeing her effortless confidence amidst the noisy crowd, I decided right then that I wanted to be just like her. Our second meeting happened because I couldn't solve a math problem. I was sitting on the steps of the old, dilapidated teaching building, looking miserable. No one usually went there except for special events. Leighton Reed walked up and was startled to see me. She hadn't expected anyone to be in such a remote spot. But once she noticed my dejected look, she offered a soft, slightly apologetic, "Sorry, I just put my head down and stayed silent." I stared at the workbook on my knees. Leighton glanced at it, seemingly sensing my frustration. She said only two things in a very serious tone: "Hard work always pays off. And good luck." Underclassmen. I've never forgotten those words. I remember the exact shade of the stains on those old walls and the way the ivy climbed the building outside. What I didn't know then was that this person would make my heart race so suddenly. Later, I learned there were 4 different ways to solve that math problem. But I still couldn't figure out one thing. Exactly what it would take for Leighton to love me after she took me back. We both tacitly agreed never to mention that incident again. Maybe I knew even then that we wouldn't last. But I was too stubborn to admit it. Looking at her now, she slowly blurred into the memory of that afternoon. The wind rustling the ivy outside the window. The leaves had swayed gently with a soft rustling sound. I had pretended not to care while stealing a glance at her. She didn't know it then. And she doesn't know it now. In the time it took to glance up, I had fallen for her for 8 years, and in the time it took to glance up again, I finally admitted I never should have taken that look. "We're done," I said. "Please let your mother know." In the deathly silence, Leighton's face remained dark as she realized I wasn't going to change my mind. Rage flared in her eyes as she clenched her fists. She looked down at me, her voice cold and indifferent. "Think carefully. Once you walk out that door, we are finished for good." I nodded. Not many people knew we were together anyway, so I wouldn't go around talking. I didn't have much to take, and I finished packing quickly. I didn't look back as I left, only hearing a dull thud behind me. That one glance from 8 years ago finally reached its conclusion today. Perhaps because Leighton was resentful that I broke up with her first. My career took a massive hit. Many of my roles were suddenly given to Julian Thorne. Jo was quick to notice the pattern. She asked if I had said something wrong or offended Julian. Before I could answer, she reminded me, "I told you his connections were powerful. You shouldn't have messed with him." I looked through the scripts she handed me. The quality had plummeted. Most were just trashy, low-budget indie series. Jo looked troubled. "You see how it is. It's not that I won't help you. But every time we're close to a deal, Julian's team snatches it away. People in the industry are being cautious. No one wants to get on Leighton Reed's bad side." I nodded calmly. I always knew Leighton wasn't someone to mess with, otherwise she wouldn't have survived the corporate infighting. To take over her father's company at such a young age, it just made me feel a bit sick to my stomach. Thinking about our relationship and how much I used to love her made me want to throw up. I was young and blinded by love. But I'm cured now. I pointed to the best of the bad scripts. I asked Jo if she could look into that one. She sighed. "Is it really worth the struggle? Everyone says you offended Julian. And it looks like they're right." "Sean," she gestured toward me, suggesting I should just bow my head and apologize. "Jo, I know you mean well, but I didn't do anything wrong. So I won't apologize." I gave her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry about me. Even if I stop acting, I won't starve." Says, "It hasn't come to that. If there's a role, I'll play it well. That's just who I am." Back in high school, I wanted to be like Leighton, so I studied like a maniac. I wasn't an early admit student, but I still got into Stanford. I was one of the students the academy was proud of. After graduation, I wanted to make money, so I started my own business. Using every resource available, I pushed my potential to the limit. When someone once tried to offer me a sugar baby arrangement by bragging they made $30 million a year, my first reaction was to ask how they earned it. "Can you teach me?" I asked. By my freshman year, my startup was already generating a 7-figure annual income. Even so, I still wanted to pursue Leighton. I worked hard to manufacture opportunities to be near her. I was patient and never rushed, starting with her circle of friends. Before moving closer to her, I never let my grades slip, either. I was top of my class every semester. Eventually, I entered Hollywood. Even though it had nothing to do with my major, I took every audition I could find, learning on the job. At my busiest, I only slept 4 or 5 hours a day. I even rehearsed in my dreams. So, even if I'm no longer an actor, it's fine. If I choose to go back to academia or research, my achievements won't be lower than my former classmates. Even if I decided to sell street crepes, mine would be the best tasting ones on the block. I am hardworking, and I refuse to lose. Whatever I do it well. Jo eventually secured that script for me. Unfortunately, the production changed my role from the lead to the second lead overnight. Jo was furious. I talked her down and accepted the role anyway. As long as I'm on set, I have a chance to prove myself. Doing nothing would only make things worse. Sitting around waiting for death isn't my style. Even if the lead was Julian Thorne, though, I did find it strange that Julian would even look at a low-budget project like this. I wouldn't have taken a role like this unless I had no choice. An actor shouldn't leave stains on their resume. The general public isn't like a fan base. If they think you're sloppy or lack talent, they won't give you a second chance. On the first day of filming, I saw Leighton. She was inseparable from Julian while the director went over scenes. Joe frowned and whispered that the rumors were clearly true. I looked up and accidentally locked eyes with Leighton. I smiled silently. Yeah. They look like a good match. The sun felt a bit too hot, and I felt a sting in my chest. I wondered if the version of me from 8 years ago would regret how this all ended. I thought about it carefully. Probably not. I do things because I want to. I only regret the things I don't do. I looked away calmly, and Leighton's expression immediately crumbled. Her gaze was frigid. Joe leaned in and asked, "Is it just me? Or does she seem to hate you even more than Julian does?" My hand froze on the script. "Really?" I asked. Joe looked suspicious. She scanned my face. "What kind of history could you two even have?" I couldn't blame her. To the outside world, Leighton and I were worlds apart. "That's a shame. I'm such a great guy. She has terrible taste for hating me." Joe laughed and playfully tapped my head. "Oh, you." As the villainous second lead, I had a lot of scenes with the hero. Leighton would inevitably see me while waiting for Julian, and her expression was always sour. My reputation on set got even worse. People whispered that the rumors were true and that Leighton clearly couldn't stand the sight of me. This tension lasted until my final scene. My last shoot was a night scene that ended around 3 a.m. I changed and went out to the curb to wait for the car Joe had sent. Headlights cut through the dark. I walked toward them out of instinct. The window rolled down halfway, and a hand holding a cigarette hung out. Sometimes, knowing someone too well is terrifying. I knew that hand instantly. It was Leighton. She squinted at me, as if judging me. When I turned to walk away, she spoke. "I'll give you a ride." "No thanks. I have a ride coming." I never thought the day would come when I could speak to her with such total indifference. Leighton took a drag of her cigarette, her chest heaving slightly. "Sean, you're the one who said you loved me. How can you just turn it off like that?" She really does have beautiful eyes. I used to stare at them, but this was the first time I saw something like grief in them. I remained patient. "Leighton, we broke up. You have a boyfriend now. The bare minimum you owe him is loyalty." She froze, and then a strange light sparked in her eyes. "No, Julian, he saved my grandfather once. I was just repaying the favor. I'm done paying it back. I've been coming here to see you, but you never reach out." Her lips thinned, and she sat up straighter, looking nervous. I didn't know what caused this shift, but I didn't care. It was irrelevant. My ride arrived. She tried to say more, but I lost my patience. "Don't come over here acting like a fool." She looked genuinely stung by the disgust in my eyes. She was stunned. Later, at the wrap party, everyone was raising their glasses to Leighton. I joined the crowd, but I kept my glass lower than hers. I used to say our relationship was equal, so even if she was far wealthier, or had a higher social status, I wouldn't lower my glass when we drank together. I was determined to stand as her equal one day. Leighton used to just smile at me, with that look you give a naive child. After a few drinks, she leaned in, her breath hot against my ear. "Good luck, underclassman." She purred. She had long forgotten the boy on the steps, but those words still affected me. She loved seeing me lose my composure. When she saw me intentionally lowering my glass this time, she looked at me in disbelief and moved her glass to the side. I whispered, "Don't hide. It doesn't look like what ordinary friends do." Instantly, her expression sharpened. Her eyes rimmed with red, and she stared at me as if struggling to speak. "Ordinary friends? I'm your ordinary friend?" Julian tried to take her hand, but she jerked away, spilling her drink. Julian looked at her with teary, wounded eyes. I set my glass down. "My apologies. I shouldn't have tried to claim a connection with you. So Reed, we aren't ordinary friends. We're just alumni. Don't let me ruin the party. I'll see myself out." I ignored the shocked faces and walked away. I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Leighton had chased me out. I turned and saw her looking devastated. She seemed to have something to say. "Stop following me. We haven't seen each other in a long time." I mocked her. "That's the message I used to send you all the time. Now I'm just giving it back." "Not very creative, is it?" She flinched. "You never even read them, did you?" She didn't deny it. I knew I was right. Back when I loved her, I'd send dozens of messages a day. She probably found them annoying and just cleared the chat without looking. I used to labor over every word, trying to share my life and feelings with her, but I never got a response. Not even a read receipt. Leighton tried to say, "From now on," but I cut her off. "There is no from now on. Stay away from me." She stood there, looking utterly lost. I had been in that exact spot so many times, watching her walk away without a second thought. This time, she didn't follow. I felt a sense of relief. I didn't want to see her again. Soon after getting home, I got a text from one of her friends. Sean, Leighton is drunk. She keeps demanding to see you. I had added Julian as a contact while filming. I simply forwarded the message to him with a note. Control your dog. The next morning, the trends were all about them. Leighton Reed and Julian Thorne, wedding bells? I clicked on the top posts. Netizens were convinced, especially after Julian started talking. He posted, "You always said things would be different if I hadn't moved abroad. But I think coming back to find each other means so much more. If I hadn't left, no one else would have even had a chance. I guess I had to give others a shot." He ended with a hand over mouth, laughing emoji. A new hashtag started trending, the power of the first love. Even when I opened short video apps, it was all clips of them together set to sweet music. The romance was at its peak. Everyone was clamoring for an official confirmation, already assuming they were a couple. But a single comment from Leighton turned everything upside down. To clarify, I am not dating Julian Thorne. I was only helping him to repay a debt. Last night, I was drunk and only wanted my fiancée to pick me up. That text wasn't meant for Julian. Stop the rumors. Those who use the public narrative will eventually be consumed by it. Both Leighton and Julian were being roasted now. Some called Julian a social climber. Others called Leighton a coward. Some even came to my page to apologize, wondering if the fiancé she mentioned was me. Most people dismissed it as a rumor. That was fine by me. I turned off the app. After the scandal, the fans of Julian and Leighton were at each other's throats. Julian kept trying to fix things with Leighton, showing up at her office constantly. He stopped taking roles, which made his fans even angrier. I didn't care. I only heard about it from Joe. Without them in my way, I could finally focus on my career. I started winning awards, and my reputation grew. I wasn't an overnight sensation, but my future looked bright. Joe remarked that people used to say I wasn't good enough to be compared to Julian. Now, no one would even put him in your league. Congratulations, John. You're a real actor now. I smiled and turned a page in my script. I told her I always remembered what she said. Acting is an actor's lifeblood. And thank you for never giving up on me. But I don't have to take every role that comes my way. I had the power to choose. Joe looked at my current script. Thank yourself, she said seriously. You're the one who didn't give up. This project has a great director. I chuckled. True. Thanks to Sean Sterling for staying brave. Joe still didn't know about my past with Leighton, or how she had spent many nights waiting outside my apartment. I never saw her. I told her if she was sorry, she should leave me alone. That's the best compensation you can give me. Late love is worth nothing. It left a bad taste in my mouth because it proved she could have been a good partner all along. She just didn't think I was important enough to bother with back then. She thought I'd never leave. But you can't love someone from the dirt. If you put yourself too low, you stop loving yourself. And if you don't love yourself, it's hard to be loved. The last time I saw her was at the hospital. Eleanor begged me to visit. I looked at her through the window. She looked pale and sickly in the bed. I'd seen enough. As I turned to leave, Eleanor looked heartbroken. She took my hand. I know it's selfish to ask, but can't you start over? You have a history. Leighton is just stubborn. Since you left, she's been drinking herself into a stupor. This time, it was a stomach hemorrhage. I only called you because I was desperate. I pulled my hand back gently. Eleanor, you shouldn't say that. I didn't do anything wrong to her, and I have every right to end this. Please don't contact me anymore. It'll just cause more misunderstandings. She looked dazed for a moment before nodding. As I walked away, I turned back to thank her. Thank you for accepting me from the start. I really appreciate it. In the beginning, no one thought I was good enough for her daughter. I faced a lot of cold shoulders and insults, but she was the first to see my sincerity. She always stood up for me after that, which gave me peace of mind for a long time. I appreciated her kindness. But she was still Leighton's mother. Our only connection was Leighton. She was the one who pushed for the engagement. This would probably be the last time we ever saw each other. I saw her eyes glisten with tears. She sighed. You're a good man. Leighton didn't deserve you. She brought this on herself. I smiled. I know. I turned away. I waved goodbye. I know I'm a good person. I'm hardworking, independent, and resilient. I'm special. So it's okay if I'm not loved. That's not my fault. My future is bright, and I won't let anyone slow me down. I'm not meant to be with Leighton Reed. I'm meant to be her rival. My next goal is to become the one holding the capital. I want to start my own entertainment company. It means I'll have to compete with Leighton for the market. But that's fine. I like my ambition. I learned a lot from her, and I can't wait to see my plans come to life.